Hello, Theiss. As you have probably noticed, there isn't an address attached with this tape. I'm going to be moving from place to place so quickly, I decided it would be best once I got to my final destination, which, for now, is a surprise. Don't worry, I'm certain it's a surprise you'll enjoy. I'll continue sending you tapes as I travel when I have the time to record. I can't guarantee they won't all come in at once. The chances I'll have to mail them will probably be closer together than not. But I hope you can enjoy them on your own regardless. Knowing you'll just pace them out like a responsible adult, so you can enjoy them at a reasonable pace until you can send one back. I'm not expecting you to not have some prepared. I'm certain you'll want to be able to tell me exactly how annoyed you are with this ordeal with the words you wanted to use as they came to you. Have fun in Cairo, darling. Love, me.
Episode 5 of a sound like no other called home.
Hello, Mera. It's so kind of you to tell me off the bat that you are going to be hard to contact for a little while. At least, this time I don't have to worry about you disappearing forever until I find some silly tape that I can't play. Ugh. Never mind that now. I've been in Cairo for about 2 weeks now. I'm in the living room of the house I'm staying at, and the host's cat seems to have taken a liking to me. I see what you mean about wanting one once we return home again, though I'm not certain if I could stop myself at just one. Getting right into it. Again today, I find myself looking back on what I have found on a language based in religion. Coptic, both the name of a Christian denomination and a language that is named after it, are found primarily here in Egypt. The language is a mix of Demotic, hieroglyphic, and hieratic, all also Egyptian languages. The language is thought to have been used by the Ptolemaic rulers of Egypt after Greek culture spread its influence over the Near Eastern area. It is deeply rooted in the church, and the language is already considered dead. A dead language is a language which is no longer spoken in everyday use, such as Latin and, in this case, Coptic. Now, the problem with this is that some people do continue to use the languages day to day. In the case of Coptic, a notable example is Monazaki, who is referred to in an article I found of doing the exact opposite of what makes a language considered to be deceased. If a small community of people continue to speak the language, albeit perhaps not in its purest form, why can the language be considered dead? Why not just a perpetual state of dying as it declines, but not gone until it's gone, you know? The religious aspect is something to consider in terms of how the dead languages should be considered. For Latin, Yiddish, and now Coptic, the religion associated has warped the language itself depending on what is happening with the organization at that time. Latin all but died, in name it has, yet the Vatican keeps using it, and it keeps it going by using the language in religious practices which bubble over into the city around it. The Jewish community is recognizing the importance of the history language can teach us, and is making moves to keep Yiddish from disappearing. This church, in turn, uses this language and people, and they speak it not only for the services, but also to feel a stronger connection with their religion. Yet one of these languages is not yet considered dead, whereas the other two are. What effect, I wonder, does the religion actually have on how dead a language can be? I think it would be interesting to have a system set up where, as long as a region still has functionally practicing members, perhaps the language spoken as a religious tongue could not be considered deceased? Think. If everything were kept track of properly, how many languages could we preserve in a greater manner than discovering them centuries later and studying how the words functioned? How many could we help nurture until either the language separated from its religious ties or the religion became more popular? In the rise of westernization and colonization, how much could we preserve with a method like this? And beyond the language itself, how many cultural ties do nations and communities have to the languages they house? How many traditions or holidays celebrated, kept alive not by what started them entirely, but by the way they are passed down orally in languages that those that celebrate them are strangers to? I've been thinking about this all the time recently. I'm always thinking about things. When I'm not working or doing things of more importance, I'm wondering about things. Big things, little things. Recently, things like this. What defines something? How that impacts or could be impacted by the things that something relate to. Options for the future. What has and hasn't worked. This time I spend talking to you, though I'm talking to a tape recorder, it has given me a chance, recently, to really dive deeper and think about this thing I'm passionate about. How it could affect us, who around us it has already touched, what it could mean for our futures. I don't know if I'll ever be able to thank you enough for what your actions have allowed me to do. Your leaving pushed me to leave. Your tapes gave me a chance to talk to you about something I've loved for a good while. You, in everything about yourself, have given me so much simply by being. No, I'm certain I'll never be able to thank you enough. I can try, though. So, thank you, number one of many. Thanks. Bo has just been told that she's the only person that could help teach future generations by someone she just met, and saying that she is struggling to process this information is an understatement. She can't even take time to mull over the information she was given even prior to that, in her being a person out of time due to her immediate acceptance of her responsibility. Bo went from thinking, "I've had quite a few days," to, "I guess this is my new adventure now," over about 30 seconds as Hoffman spoke to her. "Bo, I know I'm asking an awful lot of you, but I need you to come with me right now so we can meet with someone with more influence over the situation than I have. The information you can teach us, this'll be more than we've been able to scrounge up in the years the underground market's been up and running." All the woman could do was nod before she found herself whisked away by the shopkeep. Now, this town Bo found herself in happened to be a little port town called Wassif. Every week, trade ships would pull into port. Shopkeepers could rent stalls by the day or by the week, several weeks in advance. A stall was worth all its contents' weight in gold. Recurring stalls got priority, after things selling town-deemed necessities: fresh meat, bread, produce, and booze. After enough time, shopkeepers could put a semi-permanent mark on their wares, or the stands themselves, like how Hoffman's shop was titled. Every stall was numbered, and stealing someone's spot warranted punishment almost as severe as old nation items or loyalty. The underground market was a near mirror image of the main market. It was, in fact, underground, being the biggest and most major difference between the two. The second biggest difference was how illegal, quite literally everything sold, seemed to be. Bo, while still adjusting to the society around her post-ages-long nap, to which I will henceforth refer to as AGL, barring any serious moments requiring otherwise, still seemed to grasp how the items around her could not possibly fit the legal requirements for vending wares above, because of how much they reminded her of her home. She saw a loom like her Aunt Flora used to weave blankets for gifts with, games that she was certain she saw some of the littler kids playing the day she left, and smelling something that was close to the buns the baker would make every third morning, yet Bo could tell there was something not quite right about them. This last item, something so ultimately inconsequential that Bo now knew the kingdom, the empire, above her would punish vendors for selling, something she had grown up with that had for her entire existence been something mundane and expected, cemented everything in her mind. Holy Mother above, this is not the same time and space that once housed my home. She walked, dumbfounded, following Hoffman. The initial reaction faded to shock as they pulled her through the stalls of yelling vendors and patrons, headed towards something unknown and terrifying. The further into the heart of the secret market Bo walked, the more the differences from the world above stood out, especially when she started hearing broken words of Lapsayan. When the words of her mother tongue brushed her ears, intermittent with the gross and misformed version of this empire's Florian, Bo found herself draining of the mounting stress she had been acquiring over the course of the day, bit by bit, until when she and Hoffman stopped in front of one of the stalls built into the walls around them. One of several crevices around, either open and lit softly, casting a gentle glow across the goods being sold, or curtained to the nines with just the barest glimpse of the mysterious goods inside. The one the two stopped in front of was one of the latter. It had a light haze seeping out from the cracks, and along with it a sweet smell that Bo couldn't quite place, but seemed familiar and comforting.
Madam Norin, I've come with a very pressing matter at hand, and I think that you would like to hear about this. From behind the veiled entryway, Bo heard a soft voice respond. No, soft is a bad descriptor. The tone was firm, carried a sense of responsibility and power presented as elegance. But the tone was not cruel, not sharp, harsh edges rounded by kindness evident only in a few short sentences. Come in, but if this is the same type of pressin' matter as you brought to me when you got your hand stuck in an old nation prank device, then I'm afraid your stay in my simple shop will be short. Hoffman. They had the sense to look a bit abashed as they moved aside the covering, holding it aside so Bo could enter after them, much to her thanks. Inside, Bo saw a woman. She was seated on and within a mound of pillows, blankets, and tapestries, and despite the fact that they should have looked like a mess, they painted the picture of a queen lounging on her throne. Incense and candles burned through the room, balanced precariously in various spots, yet carefully avoiding burning anything within the room save themselves. Hoffman tipped their head down in respect, Bo quickly doing the same, and the woman nodded back at them in return. Madam, I have with me someone that might help us learn more than we ever have before, about the old ways of the kingdom and what it's supposed to be. This is Bo. Bo? This is Madam Norin, the woman responsible for keeping this town, the whole sales place, up and running. Bo tipped her head down a second time. It's a pleasure, madam. The pleasure is mine, Bo. Tell me, Hoffman, how exactly can our new companion do what it is you are implying? Forgive me for my hesitancy, but matters like these should not be taken lightly by those who sell cheap tricks and are easily excitable. Again, Hoffman looked embarrassed at the madam's words. I promise, madam, this time I have something really important. Bo, your coin? They inclined their head at her knapsack where her coin purse had been, returned earlier with the money inside. Their eyes darted back and forth between Madame Norin and the bag, visibly hoping to impress her with Bo's goods. Bo, in turn, pulled out her money, passing the bag to Hoffman, who passed it to the madam. As the money exchanged hands, Bo noted that the haze hid the woman's face from view. The longer she looked, the more Bo realized she couldn't see much of the woman at all. A silhouette, barely there, features overcast and hard to focus on. She turned her focus from what she couldn't see to what she could, focusing on her surroundings as the madam spoke. These appear to be genuine, yet they're untouched by time, which takes away from the credibility of them. She paused for a moment, regarding one of the coins with scrutiny. Yet, they have the original security marks of the Lapsaean kingdom. The woman frowned. Bo could tell from her tone, though she could not see her face. Where did you get these, Miss Bo? My uncle gave them to me. Bo felt the woman's gaze sear into her skin. She shifted uncomfortably. As trinkets? To frame someone? No, madam. He gave them to me for currency, so I could take care of myself on my travels. Hoffman spoke up again. Madam, she said that she got these and then rested in the forest. Her first tongue is lapsang, and she didn't know about the punishment for having such items. The madam didn't respond, sitting back in her throne before standing up and approaching the two. Hoffman stiffened as she approached, and Bo tensed too, hair raising on her neck as the madam came into view. She looked almost exactly like her uncle, watered down but traits unmistakable. How interesting. Bo, I have a feeling you and I are going to be monumental friends, and you are going to be monumental in our efforts. I'm thinking I should start writing this story down beyond simple notes. You know me. Usually my tales are short and can be told all at once, but I don't know. I've never seemed to have enough tape to tell you what I want to tell you all at once. And while I want to talk about my passion, I want to give you something each time we talk. For me, this is a part of the way I can do that. I can leave you with a story I weave myself, something with more meaning than my ramblings about people and the words they use to express themselves. But I feel as though I too am getting something out of these snippets of a story I have only just begun to tell. I want to keep track of everything, and to maybe make something more out of it one day. When you finally tell me where you are, you're going to have a lot to hear about. I don't even know what might happen a few tapes from now. We'll see how I'm feeling when I record again and what sorts of things I'll have concocted for the poor protagonist. Hopefully nothing too bad. Hopefully. Once again, I find myself unable to figure out how to say goodbye. I'm curious about whatever it is that you have planned, dear, but I won't lie and say it doesn't make me worried. I'm not able to get in touch with you right away. I worry about everything that could happen to you when I can't reach you. I worry about everything that already has. Hopefully my worries are for naught. I do need you to know that the cat is here with me. His name is Socks. And he's decided to sit right next to me on top of the sofa. The sun coming through the window has made a perfect warm spot, it seems. Speaking of the window, a taxi just pulled up. Wonder if someone has the wrong address. Oh, passengers getting out. Mera? Around the World From Me to You is brought to you as my personal project. The voice of Theiss is, well, me. The voice of Mera is Caroline Kondak. Music is Quiet Place by Jonny Easton, Growing Up by Scott Buckley, and Still by Ross Bugden. If you have interest in dying languages, I encourage you to look into them. There's a lot of history there, and it can be quite interesting to learn about. Keep it up.